Hey there, Dr. Brad here from Advanced Chiropractic here in Tumwater. And I wanted to talk today about a little bit about nutrition and eating. And this is what I wanted to talk about. In my life, obviously I've been in the healthcare world and studied human health and function and performance and all things related to that for decades now, I guess. And so a lot of times in life, I'll get asked by people, friends, family, acquaintances, and patients, who are wanting to make healthy changes to their diet. There's a lot out there. If you're eating standard American diet or close to that, there are a lot of changes. And so they will ask me some version of this question. And that is, I want to make changes. What's the one thing or what's the most important thing? Or what dietary or eating advice do you have that you do that you feel like is the most important thing? Like, what should I eat? What should I stop eating? Et cetera, et cetera. And for me, what really comes down to, in terms of my own experience, and now I've studied the science and research behind it to understand why, but in terms of my own personal experience of feeling vital and energy and just healthy as a result of, the number one thing for me is not what to eat or what not to eat, is actually when to eat. And so that brings me to the concept of intermittent fasting. So the way I do it is I don't eat breakfast. I haven't for years now. And usually, so the first meal of the day typically for me is around 1 p.m. And then I usually eat dinner around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And so ideally, I'm just eating in that about 8-hour window. And then from after dinner until the next day at 1 o'clock-ish, I don't eat anything. And so some people are like, oh my gosh, how can you do that? Don't you get low blood sugar, etc.? But really, what it actually does is it really helps my body be much more efficient at managing blood sugar. And so here's a little bit of how it works. Not to dive too deep, we can do that in another video. But basically what happens when we eat something, especially something with carbohydrates in it, very little of that carbohydrates or sugar goes into our blood and circulates around as blood sugar that we use for immediate energy. So beyond that small amount, the next amount of that sugar or carbohydrates has to get stored, and it gets stored in the short-term storage, which is called glycogen, which is the short-term storage in our muscles. And then anything beyond that we've eaten gets stored in the long-term storage, and that's fat. So when we eat frequently, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and we don't leave spaces longer than 10 hours, 9-10 hours between eating, we never deplete our glycogen supply. So we're constantly running on sugar and carbohydrates. Now, some of the disadvantages of this are, one, running on sugar all the time can be harmful to your inflammation levels, your chronic inflammation levels. That's why it can lead to things like diabetes, heart disease, etc. Number two, it also causes us to be hungry all the time and have the blood sugar swings. And so that's where people get that idea, like if you don't eat frequently, you'll get low blood sugar. It's actually how your body's fueling itself. So if you fast long enough to exhaust the glycogen stores and then keep fasting beyond that, which really takes about 12 hours, ideally you go into like the 14, 15, 16 hour range every day, you start to burn what are called ketones for energy. And that's a much more efficient, clean burning energy, if you want to say that, because our brain can only run on blood and sugar or these ketone bodies, which are sugar-like, but they're made from our own fat stores. So hence, what I just said about your own fat stores, you have to be burning fat to be making ketones. So that's one thing that happens when you fast on a regular basis, intermittent fasting. You're constantly using your own fat storage for energy. So I know a lot of people, are looking to lose weight, lose fat, and about 60% of US adults are overweight. So I would say that the majority of people are looking to lose or manage and maintain the amount of body fat they have. So a great way to do that. There's other amazing things that happen. It triggers all kinds of cellular chemistry that helps with longevity, helps you stay youthful, decreases pain, all that kind of good stuff. So to me, the most important change that I made for my own well-being and that I can actually experience and feel, and like I said, the science backs it up, is intermittent fasting. So the way I recommend doing it, if you want to give it a try, for me in my life, eating lunch and dinner works better. Dinner is typically the meal that I end up eating with the family. So that works better. I know some people do breakfast and lunch and then don't need to get until the next day breakfast. However you want to do it. But if you want to do what I did and start skipping breakfast, here's how I would just suggest to do it to make the transition easy. So say you typically eat breakfast at 7 a.m. Start tomorrow, eat breakfast at 7:30. Do that for a couple days, 8 o'clock. A couple days, 8:30. A couple days, 9 o'clock. And just slowly start working your way towards lunchtime. And eventually you'll get there. And you might feel hungry. And when I've done it, and even occasionally now, though not often, I'll feel a little hungry before lunchtime. Typically, if I just drink some water, that goes away. And so that's what I would recommend. All right, well, give it a try and tell me how it goes for you. Tell me if you experience the same changes I experienced, because that'd be really fun to hear. All right, you guys take care. Bye now.